Which one is better, California or Texas? Stay tuned as we get into it. As always, thanks for checking out our newest video here on All Things Tyler. In today's video, we're going to get into the details of California versus Texas as a state. So if you've been thinking about a move to Texas, we're going to look at some of the measurables that we can see when comparing California and Texas. Also, if you haven't already, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel. You can do that down here or up there. Just click the little bell. You'll get all notifications when we drop our newest videos. Also, we want to remind you that we are your friend in real estate. If you're thinking about making a move to East Texas, we want to be that resource for you. I've got all my contact information down here. I've got other links and things like that where you can reach out, shoot me a text, give me a call, whatever is most convenient from you. We would love to hear from you and help make East Texas your home. We also have our great Facebook group, Moving to East Texas. You can connect with other people who have made the move or are thinking about making the move, and that way you're going to be able to connect with others that will help make the transition a little bit easier. We also have a link down to the group in the description below, so check it out. All right, so post-COVID, Texas has seen a pretty big surge in population growth, a lot of it coming from California. So there's a lot of reasons why I think people have made the move from California to Texas specifically. We're going to look at some of the measurables and things like that, how California actually differs in terms of economics, housing, affordability, cost of living, some of those things that are important, and what I find to be some of the biggest reasons my clients who have left California and come to Texas are looking for. So starting off really simply, California and Texas are the two most populous states in the country. California has 39 million people and Texas has just under 31 million people. When we look at politically speaking, California is known for its more liberal and progressive policies. I have found though that a lot of my clients tell me that California is actually pretty conservative outside of the major metros. So whereas Texas is generally pretty conservative, there are pockets of more liberal types of people here, Austin being the liberal hub of Texas for sure. There are parts of Dallas and Houston and those areas too that are a little bit more liberal, but generally speaking, Texas is very conservative in its values. Across the state, Texas will probably always be red and conservative. So if you're looking to kind of escape some of those liberal policies and things like that, Texas provides a much more conservative approach to living and politics. So one of the most important factors when deciding where you want to live is going to be cost of living. There's a lot of different calculators and a lot of different sites and things like that that estimate what the cost of living in California is versus Texas, and it's no doubt that California is significantly more expensive than living in Texas. So we're going to use the MIT affordability calculator and some of their metrics as our basis to kind of understand the difference in cost of living between Texas and California. Being focused on real estate, one of the biggest discrepancies that leads to the greater cost of living in California versus Texas is going to be the cost to own a home. So in California, according to Zillow, the average price per home in California is $700,000. In Texas, that number is less than half at $306,000. So that $700,000 home on average in California, you're going to be able to get the same type of home for more than half off here in Texas. Or if you choose to spend $700,000, that $700,000 gets you significantly more than it's going to get you throughout most of the state of California. Now, I recognize there is some variability in this because you do have very, very expensive homes along the coast of California, in Los Angeles and things like that, that we don't really have even in our biggest and most desirable metros in Texas. The most expensive homes in Dallas are probably less than $30 million, to where if we were to pull up Zillow for Los Angeles or Beverly Hills or Hollywood Hills, things like that, there's probably dozens of them over $30 million. So there is some truth to that, but the truth is what you can afford in Texas is going to be a lot more home than what you're going to get in California. Looking at the MIT cost affordability calculator, but the biggest discrepancies between California and Texas, one is going to be housing. Like we noted, the housing in California annual cost on average is about $29,000, to where in Texas it's just a little over $17,000. So you've got almost a 50% difference between the two, $11,000 annually cheaper to live in a house here in Texas versus California. When we look at food costs, it's not super crazy. California is a little bit over $13,000 to where Texas comes in at $11,000. Another big one that I found that was a pretty big discrepancy in cost was the cost for childcare. So if you have young kids who are not yet quite in school and you're paying for childcare so you can work, cost for childcare in California is almost $29,000, $28,744 to Texas's $18,146. So you're going to have, again, very similar to the housing cost, about $10,000 or $11,000 difference in cost for childcare in Texas versus California. A simple way to put it, the hourly wage necessary to support a family of 4, hourly rate in Texas is $24.20 an hour. And this is for a family of 4. To where in California, you would need a job that paid you $33.26 an hour to be able to comfortably afford living in California with a family of 4. Now, if we look at that across a total of what it would be like for salaries, in Texas, you could live with a family of 4 on $100,000 to where in California, you would need a salary of $138,000. Now, why that money needs to be a little bit higher in California is, one, the cost of living, but also the state income tax. In Texas, there is no state income tax. Now, in truth, it is offset somewhat by property taxes, but if you're renting and not owning a home, your rent costs here in Texas are cheaper than they are in California typically. Additionally, your total property taxes are going to probably be less than what that taxable income that you're going to pay in California would be here in Texas. So while it does offset some of that savings, it's not all of it entirely. Another one of those factors in the cost of living is vehicle registration in California versus Texas. Here in Texas, you're going to pay about $50 a year on average. I think it's actually a little bit higher now. I want to say it's like 70 something, to where in California, it's going to be based on the value of the car. So if you have an expensive car, you're going to pay a lot more for registration per car. To where in Texas, a very cheap car versus a very expensive car, you're going to pay a flat rate, and that variability is going to allow it to be just a little bit cheaper for travel and transportation here in Texas versus California. So the job markets in California and Texas are largely a little bit different. Obviously, California is known for a lot of tech, and you've got Hollywood and the industry around that in a lot of different ways in California that are obvious. I know there's a lot of agricultural jobs and things like that there too. Texas kind of revolves around the energy sector, oil and gas. You know, there's lots of jobs throughout the state that take care of that, whether it be drilling, the ancillary services around operating oil and gas businesses, the process in testing to find out where there is oil and gas. It's just a pretty robust industry that really is one of the biggest industries in our state. So that's a little bit how they differ in terms of the jobs that are available. Another consideration is if you have kids, looking at the school systems. I can't speak a lot to the California school system, but I do know that they are influenced a little bit more by federal policies and curriculum than a lot of the Texas schools are. I don't know, like I said, the structure in which it is organized in California, but in Texas, you have independent school districts. So where you live, there will be a school, and that school district makes the majority of the decisions for that district. There is obviously some influence from the state and even somewhat to an extent from the federal government, but it's not as tied to funding and whatnot as it is in other places. So schools here have a little bit more flexibility to teach what they want, how they want to teach it, and things like that. And that's a big appeal for people who want to kind of maybe leave some liberal ideology that they feel maybe is being forced on them and whatnot. Texas, it's kind of decided locally what's appropriate. So if you live in a neighborhood or a community that is more conservative and they want to have the curriculum structured in a certain way, they're going to have a little bit more influence on that here in Texas, more so than what you would in the state of California. So to kind of summarize the difference in things that you may want to consider, the biggest one, of course, that we touched on is cost of living. It's cheaper to live in Texas than it is in California. And I think it's going to be that way for the foreseeable future just because California is significantly more expensive than Texas right now. We have our own share of problems with expenses rising, whether it be property taxes because of property values, insurance costs going up. Those things are non-issues in California either though. Obviously, the insurance cost in California is a real thing. We still can get insurance coverage. It's just at a higher rate than it has been previously in a lot of instances, and that's because of hailstorms and things like that. But my understanding is they are working to kind of curb some of that cost by adjusting the way they issue policies and things like that for homes here. We don't have an issue of no insurance choice, which is a thing in California, as so many companies have pulled out of California in providing insurance to those areas. But generally speaking, you get more for your money here in Texas. While you may make a little bit less, your dollar is going to go a lot further when purchasing a home, living your day-to-day life, etc. Those kind of things, you get more for your money here in Texas. How do taxes differ here versus California? You pay an income tax ranging from 1% to 13% in California on your income. So you higher earners are going to always pay a lot more in taxes in California. But truthfully, if you've been considering Texas, you already know the no state income tax is a big draw to live in Texas. Our property taxes are about double what they are in California when looking at percentages, but when you compare the home values to Texas versus California, it's about the same. While our rate may be doubled, the value is probably half of what it would be in California. So if you're buying a $700,000 house there, it will probably cost you $300,000-ish here. That tax rate is going to be offset because the lower purchase price is going to reduce the tax burden. Which state has better job opportunities? California and Texas both offer a lot of job opportunity. California's GDP is actually almost 50%, almost double of what Texas's is, but Texas is a growing state. Lots of industries have come this way, from Tesla, Facebook, Samsung, all those areas. So we are getting a bigger tech oriented area in the state that's going to continue to probably expand over time. Part of that is just the affordability here is better. They can recruit more talent here and pay them less. So because of that, Texas is probably going to continue to grow over the next decade or so. It may not reach California's population in that window, but I think it's very possible that Texas could continue to grow because of the opportunities here. And in doing that, all the stuff that pops up around population growth is going to be a factor here. Texas will grow and you'll continue to have opportunities to find good jobs here, whether it be in the industry of oil and gas or whatever. Stuff's going to continue to grow in Texas. Now, we did kind of leave off some of the beautiful things that California offers. It is a beautiful state when looking at the difference between Northern California being more mountainous and green and things like that, to where you have all the beautiful beaches in Southern California. In those areas, you've got mountains in the east, and truly it just offers a little bit different geography than Texas does. The Texas beaches are not the beaches of California. We don't really have the beautiful mountains outside of West Texas at Big Bend National Park. Like I said, our ocean in Galveston and Houston area is not that. It's a very muddy, kind of messy sand, and just not as pretty. So the geography and the beauty of California is something we don't have here. We also don't have the perfect weather of Southern California. Currently outside it's 38 degrees, which is pretty chilly for Texas. And in summers it gets blistering hot. You know, it will reach north of 100 degrees, and it's also very humid at times. Now, it's not as humid as there are other places, but when comparing weather and climate and geography, California is definitely going to beat Texas. And that's a large reason why so many people were in California to begin with. It is a beautiful state, but the truth is it's just gotten very, very expensive. It's changed, maybe changed politically. I don't know how long it's been as liberal and whatnot as it is, but I know those liberal policies are a lot of things that drive people away from the beautiful state, and they're willing to accept maybe what Texas offers just because of that more conservative approach to politics and life. So which one, California or Texas? The truth is the answer really depends. What you need, what you prioritize, is going to be different than another person watching this video than what I prioritize. I love Texas. I like what I can afford here. I like the opportunities I have here, but my family's also here. And that's a big reason why it would be hard for me to ever leave. My family, my friends, what ties me to this area would make it hard. And it's the same reason why a lot of people may stay with some of the problems that they encounter in California. There's no simple answer as to which is better. You pay more in California to enjoy the beautiful weather and the beautiful landscapes and geography and things like that. However, if you want to be able to start something different for your family, have more options, and live a higher standard of life, Texas probably offers that just because your dollar goes a lot further. And for so many people in a tough economy, having your dollar go further is a very, very big deal. So thank you for checking out our newest video where we compare California and Texas. If you're thinking about making a move to Texas, leave us a comment about the areas that you're considering, anything that is drawing you to Texas specifically, what makes Texas appealing, or you can even tell us why you're leaving California. I haven't had a whole lot of people move from Texas to California, but if you're that person that's moving from Texas to California, tell us why you're leaving Texas and what's taking you to California. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Like I said, leave us some comments. We would love your feedback. Additionally, we've got our Facebook group, Moving to East Texas. It's a great place to connect with others who are thinking about making the move to East Texas. You can ask any questions in there. We've got over 6,000 people, so it's a great resource for anybody planning on making a move. As always, we want to remind you we are your friend in real estate. If you're thinking about making a move to East Texas, let us be a resource to help you. We talk to people every day who are making East Texas their home, and we would love to help you as well. We've got all our information down here. Shoot us a text message, give us a call, send us an email, whatever it may be. We would love to connect with you and help make East Texas your home.